So, a warm welcome to everybody. This time we are starting with pediatrics lectures, and we have the standard book, OP Guy. So, in this, we are starting with the disorders of the respiratory system. So, though first I was thinking of making an audio book sort of version for certain important chapters and certain important units like growth, development, respiratory, gastro, hepatobiliary, certain genetic anomalies, and neonatology. So, but then I thought that it would be good if on the screen also you can see the same theory written so that there will be a better correlation, and it will not only be audio but there will be visual effect also. So it will be audio visual, and I hope the efficiency and the benefits that will be reap from it will be multifold. So therefore, this is the eighth edition, and in this PDF, I could not get the ninth edition because the latest is ninth edition, which is in the markets. So I have a hard copy with me of ninth edition. So though on the screen we have a PDF of the eighth edition, because ninth edition is not available on a PDF. I tried. So whatever few points will be there, because I have matched both the editions 8th and 9th, they are very much same, hardly a difference of 10% of the content. So whatever that 10% which is given extra in the new book, that is ninth edition, I will tell you when and where. Apart from that, the pattern, even the complete headings, subheadings, almost everything is same. I'm telling you 90% it is the same. Very few changes have been made in the ninth edition, and that I already have a hard copy with me. Right, so today we are going to start with the respiratory system. So uh, let's see how we are going to cover. So this will be the first of a kind lecture series for pediatrics, where we are using a standard and a very awesome book, and it's like an audio book but with a visual component also right in front of your eyes for better understanding and for more productivity. So let's start here. So as this ninth in this eighth edition, which is right in front of us, this chapter starts with directly the common respiratory symptoms, right? But before this, in the ninth edition, one more page has been added. So in that page, whatever few things are worth mentioning, I'm going to mention right now. Okay. So I'm reading them out, right? So the heading is developmental physiology. The developmental physiology is a newer addition to the ninth one. Okay, so in this they are telling that the fetal oxygen requirement remains constant independent of the maternal levels. Then about the surfactant in the lungs. The surfactant is a protein, and this helps to decrease the surface tension. It imparts elasticity to the air fluid interface, and therefore less pressure is then needed to distend the lungs. Okay. Then another important line was that the affinity of hemoglobin for oxygen is increased in the presence of 2,3 diphosphoglyceric acid. However, the fetal hemoglobin is relatively insensitive to the effect of 2,3 dpg. Then onset of respiration, how a newborn when it gets birth, how it starts to breathe by itself. So there are three factors. Number one is decreased oxygen, that is hypoxia. Number two is hypercapnia, and number three, increased sensitivity of the chemoreceptors are the main factors responsible for initiation of respiration at birth. Then there is a line that says the tidal volume of a 3 kg infant is around 16 ml at 28 breaths per minute. So 16 ml at 28 breaths per minute for a 3 kg infant. And the normal newborn requires 7 ml of oxygen per kg per minute. So the oxygen requirement of a newborn is 7 ml oxygen per kg of body weight per minute. This is 3 times that of an adult. Then one point about the gas transport. The hypoxia in a newborn is corrected in 5 minutes, hypercapnia by 20 minutes, and acidosis in the 24 hours, in the first 24 hours. So oxygen is corrected in 5 minutes, carbon dioxide 20 minutes, and acidosis in 24 hours, means 1 day. The initial acidosis is metabolic acidosis, means lactic acidosis. Then another function about the various capacities of the lung. The total lung capacity in a newborn is 150 ml compared with that of adult, which is 5 liters or 5000 ml. So for a newborn it is 150 ml TLC, total lung capacity. And with age, what happens? The compliance of the lung increases and the resistance decreases. Okay. Yeah. And the last line, which is little worth mentioning, is that the arterial partial pressure of oxygen PaO2 is around 75 mm of Hg in the newborn, and around 5-year period, means when the child is 5-year old, it reaches the adult levels of 95 mm Hg. So in a newborn it's 75, whereas in an adult it is 95. So in a newborn it is 75, whereas in an adult it is 95 mm of Hg, the partial pressure of O2, PaO2 in the arterial blood. So these were few 3-4 points worth mentioning, which are newer additions in the ninth edition. Okay. Now again we are starting on same lines in both the 8th and ninth edition, and that is common respiratory symptoms. So here we will talk about symptoms like cough, expectoration, hemolysis, certain respiratory sounds, okay, stridor, wheezing, etc. Then other symptoms include dyspnea, epistaxis, and that's it. Okay, so these are some 7 to 8 important respiratory symptoms. So let's see. The first is cough. Okay, so this is an audiobook, but I won't be merely reading each and every line. Okay, so it will be a more personalized and a better version of the audiobook, where I'm not a passive reader, just like a news reader, a book reader. I'm not like that. So I will be interacting with you also, and in between I will be giving a lot of mnemonics, a lot of tricks how to quickly remember the points, because as we know it's all about rote memory. You have to remember what are the conditions in which you will get dry cough, what are the diseases that will give rise to a productive cough, and so on and so forth. So the main thing here is to remember the stuff with some explanation, and otherwise means in some places logic fits, but in other places you have to memorize a lot of things, right? So we'll try our best to cover the maximum in the least time possible. Okay, so in cough, the first paragraph, all this is not much important. Okay, so they're just telling the physiology, how it happens. Obviously when there with, so what you have to remember here is this line, that cough can be, the cough reflex can be generated from anywhere, like pharynx. So pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and pleura, mind you. Okay, so from the upper up to the lower respiratory tract. Upper means pharynx and larynx and trachea, and then lower down you have the bronchi as well as the pleura. So upper respiratory tract as well as lower respiratory tract, including the pleura, irritation of these can cause cough. Okay. Then, apart from that, they have told about afferent and efferent pathways, that the afferent signals irritation of these structures is carried by ninth nerve and 10th nerve, and then efferent pathways, which relay from the cuff center in the medulla, they come back to the larynx. Means for the cough, the production of cough is usually done by the expiratory muscles, means the muscles of respiration, they take part in production of cough as well as larynx. Okay. So the efferent pathway is including the larynx and the respiratory muscles to produce cough. Apart from that, cough, it is a defense mechanism, we all know this. And there are certain conditions where there will be productive cough whenever there is, the airways have a lot of secretions in the trachea and the bronchi, or even the lower airways, it will produce a very productive cough. And another important point is written that cough, we should not try to suppress the cough, not try to suppress the cough in younger children, otherwise there will be retention of the secretions and all. And later on it will lead to atelectasis and infections. Okay, but if there is a persistent cough, it will interfere with the sleep and the feeding, and it will also cause fatigue to the child. So sleep, feeding, and fatigue. Okay, sleep, feeding, fatigue will be affected in case of chronic cough, but if it's acute cough, we should not try to give any cough, means the we should not try to suppress that cough in case of children, young children. Now coming to etiology. Now in etiology, it is given in a very point wise fashion. 6 points are there, right? Not even 6, one more is there here. Foreign body and empyema. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you in a little different way. So you can look here at etiology of acute cough, but in the newer edition also, little bit difference is there in the points, the presentation. The first point is the same, that is upper respiratory tract infection. So 1, what is the trick? Now I am teaching you the tricks here quickly. 1 and 3. Now 1 and 3. Okay, so 1 will be U, that is upper respiratory tract, and this will be L. Third point is related with L. So 1 is upper respiratory tract infection and 3 is lower respiratory tract infection. Upper respiratory tract infections, you can tell n number of them. Name all the viruses: rhinovirus, parainfluenza, influenza, respiratory syncytial virus. Apart from that, other causes: sinusitis, tonsils, adenoids, pharyngitis, laryngitis, and tracheobronchitis. Okay, so the most common conditions like acute common cold, sinusitis, tonsils, adenoids, pharyngitis, laryngitis, tracheobronchitis. Okay, so this is how it is given. Right. The third point is the lower. Here it is given only bronchiolitis, but I'm asking you to merge 3 points into one. So bronchiolitis, okay, bronchiolitis, not bronchitis, bronchiolitis, comma, here only you add pneumonia. Okay, this fourth point and third point you club it into one in the lower respiratory tract. So bronchiolitis, pneumonia, pulmonary abscess, and empyema. Pulmonary abscess, so pneumonia, pulmonary suppuration means pulmonary abscess, as well as empyema. This point number 8, that is also clubbed into point number 3, all are coming somewhere in the lower respiratory tract. So that is the trick. Okay, so one is upper respiratory tract infection, then one is lower respiratory tract. In lower respiratory tract it will be bronchiolitis, it will be pneumonia, number 3 it will be pulmonary abscess, number 4 it will be empyema. Okay, I will talk very fast, you have to lower the speed if you want, because so much has to be covered. This is just one subject and we have to study 19-20 subjects. So I will be fast, my speed will be fast, right? So you please see the video. If you are not comfortable, at 0.75x. Okay, now apart from that there will be allergy and asthma. So what is the trick? Number 1 upper respiratory, number 2 lower respiratory. The third trick, now you can talk about allergies and asthma. So allergy will be the third trick. Okay, allergy will be the third trick. Now other points, some other diseases, like other diseases literally like measles, it's a common exanthematous fever, you know. So other non-related conditions which also cause respiratory symptoms of cough, like measles and whooping cough. Okay, so measles and whooping cough, and other ones also like pertussis, whooping cough means diphtheria, pertussis, measles, all of these are the other illnesses. And one last point, again very unrelated, is the foreign body. Very unrelated point is the foreign body. So these are the causes of acute cough. Now coming to chronic and recurrent cough. Chronic or recurrent. So chronic and recurrent cough, in this what you have to remember, I, and I. There are 4 I's in this. There are 4 I's in this. 4 times the letter I will come. Okay, so 4 times the letter I will come. So the first I is inflammation, as you can see, inflammation. Second I will come infection. It's not given here, but in the newer version it's given differently, systematically. So inflammation, second I will be infection, third I will be irritants, and fourth I will be suppuration. Suppuration means again it is like infection only, infection which is causes suppurative changes, abscess formation, cavitary lesion, like that. So suppuration. Okay, so 4 I's are there: inflammation, infection, irritants, and infection only. Later on infection, inflammation can give rise to suppuration. So 4 I's. In case of inflammation, it can be inflammation, for example asthma and Loeffler's syndrome. Infection can be any infection: bacterial, viral, chlamydia, mycoplasma, TB, parasitic. Then irritants, in irritants it can be irritants such as smoke, dust, etc. Suppurative lung diseases, for example bronchiectasis and cystic fibrosis. Bronchiectasis and cystic fibrosis. Apart from that, now other conditions are, so there are I's, 4 I's are there. Then some again very unrelated and vague things. Okay, like foreign body. Okay, foreign body, there also foreign body was coming, one and only. So here also foreign body, little vague. Then apart from that, it can be congenital malformations, congenital malformation. So one is foreign body, then one is congenital, means it is present since birth, so we can't do anything much about it. So congenital, foreign body, so you can remember like a congenital foreign body. Then a condition called primary ciliary dyskinesia, it's immune related. So primary ciliary dyskinesia, PCD, primary ciliary dyskinesia. Okay, so these are very vague stupid things like foreign body, some congenital problem, some primary ciliary dyskinesia. So just remember all 3 of them as vague things. Some foreign body was there which was congenitally present, and there was a disease also which was congenitally present, like primary ciliary dyskinesia, PCD. Apart from that, now here also it is given in this, that is anatomy. So there can be some anatomical problems, for example tumor, tracheal stenosis, and tracheoesophageal fistula. So 3 T's: tumor, tracheal stenosis, and tracheoesophageal fistula. So anatomy is dealing with 3 T's: tumor, tracheal stenosis, and tracheoesophageal fistula.